It's great to see you all. Yes, don't forget to like, comment, and share this post, this live. Please do come on here and comment. I am frantically trying to keep this little one in here because she keeps going next door and barking at the wall, and I honestly do not know what is going on. And then she tries to give me a kiss. So yes, this is Come Paint With Me, and we are going to continue a conversation, or rather a monologue, that we started last week. And so I'll recap in a few moments, but we are halfway there on our YouTube channel. We just need another 20 subscribers and I will be able to go live on YouTube, which will be really, really exciting. So do help me with that. Do subscribe to this channel. I'll be doing little shorts in between, and you can see here a little bit of a spoiler alert to some of the paintings that I'm doing. This is one that I've been working on this week, and it's one that we worked on last week, but I've been feeling that I need to start painting fruit, and a friend of mine, don't know if she's going to be seeing this, but she concurred with that today just by a comment that she made on my story. And so yes, I'll be painting fruit, maybe even flowers at some point, doggies soon as well. Truth is, I wish I was doing this full time, but I actually have an amazing job, so I'm grateful for my amazing job. However, maybe it's just I wish there was more hours in the day. So we're going to get into veganism again this week. Most of you will know, and maybe I'll start painting now as well. Most of you will know that I am mainly a vegan. Yeah. And so we talked about this last week, like I said. Hopefully very soon we're going to have a guest on here who is a lot more passionate about the subject of veganism than me. He does it properly. So I still don't think that's the colour, but hey, we're going to go with this colour and see what happens. Molly, you need to stay here, okay, just for an hour. I want to know where you are. So I ordered this magenta because I thought that was the best colour. That's what it said it was, but anyway. There we go. So yes, right, so let's get into it. So last week we talked about veganism, and last week I shared the reasons why I am vegan. And so personally for me, that is totally not the right colour. Well, we're going to go with that colour, and then we're going to work out what colour we put on it to make it more like that colour. Maybe you could have a mortimer on this colour, I don't know. Anyway, we're just going to get this colour on here and then we're going to see. So yes, I talked about the reasons for why I was vegan, and you know what, I almost need to look back at my my videos, but don't like to watch myself too much, to be honest. Anyway, and yes, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see whether I can film on here on laps. No, only just slow motion. It doesn't do time lapse, and my storage is critically low, so that's not happening. Yeah, so the reason why I am, hello Maria, the reason why I'm vegan is for health reasons. Basically, I can't remember if I shared, but yeah, it's got a horrible diagnosis, about 4 years ago now, and that's it. I shared with you that many of you know I'm a Christian, and I had felt like God had prepared me to be a vegan and to do a prolonged Daniel fast. And I shared last week that Daniel is a guy in the Bible, and he and his friends were asked to were offered the best. Well, they were going to stay here, okay? Offered the best food in the place, in the palace, but that food had been offered to idols, and so they decided that they did not want to eat this food. You're going to stay there, okay, Molly, please? They decided that they were going to, if you get up, I am not opening the door. Okay, Molly? Been a very naughty doggy. You can get your toy, but I'm not opening the door. I will just pick you up again. So yes, so they decided that they were not going to eat the king's food because it had been given to idols. And so they decided that they were just going to eat. Oops. I've gone too far. Should have gone to about there. They were not going to eat food that was to idols, and they done it again. Sorry. Yeah, so they decided they were going to just eat vegetables. They were going to eat pulses, grains, nuts, all of those things. And they said, look, if we don't look better than the guys that are eating all the rich food, then okay, fair enough, we'll eat your rich food. But they were convinced that they were going to feel better, they were going to look better than the guys that were eating the rich food. And in 21 days, guess what? They did. They looked better. Put some white on. They looked better than the guys that had been eating like really, really well. So it just goes to show, you know, being obedient to God. And obviously this is not my Christian program. Oh, that tastes gross. That is not a nice cup of tea. So little before we carry on about veganism, I decided today to buy a whistling kettle, because word on the street is that it costs less money to boil a kettle on a cooker than it does an electric kettle. So for ages I've been wanting to buy a whistling kettle so that we can save money. And I bought this whistling kettle today, and that cup of tea is horrible. So it cost me £7. So I'm hoping there's a way of making my making it taste nice, because that's not pleasant at all. So yes. Anyway, so back to Daniel and his friends. So yes, they ate very simply. They ate vegetables and pulses and everything. No, Molly, you're not going out. You're not going out. I'm very busy right now, so no. Because you're just going to bark at the wall, and I don't want you to bark at the wall. Absolutely no way. Bear with me a sec. Can't really see what it is yet. Oh. Molly, come here. No, you're not barking at the wall. You're not barking at the wall. No, no more bark. I'm not having you bark again. So, chill your beans. Chill your beans. Calm down. So in 21 days they looked amazing. And so you know when you kind of think, oh, what if this and what if that and what if the other? And actually, I wouldn't recommend to be going thinking, what about this, what about that, what about the other? But in my case, it was like God was preparing me for news that I was going to get. And so he started to talk to me about Daniel fast, and I had tried the Daniel fast like 2 or 3 times and utterly failed. Like, it was just an absolute disaster. I just couldn't do it. I felt so ill, and I've heard quite a lot of people say that they can feel quite ill when doing a Daniel fast. And so yeah, I just failed. But this time that I got this diagnosis, I was like, well, this is do or die. So I am just going to try my hardest. Or not even try my hardest, I'm just going to do it. I knew that it was really important because God had been speaking to me about it. And so I knew I had to do it. I knew I had to do a Daniel fast, prolonged Daniel fast. And essentially, that was becoming vegan. I just decided, you know, I'm going to be vegan. For a little while, I was trying like chicken, and I was looking at all the different kind of like nutrition doctors that are out there, and, you know, what do you eat, and how do you essentially get inflammation out of your body, and how do you have like an alkaline diet. And so I looked into that, and you could have some sort of meat like chicken and stuff like that. Hello, Daisy. But it's interesting trying to paint with a chihuahua. I'm trying to find different. That's probably not going to be on that screen anymore. Bear with me a sec. Move that back. And so yes, I was trying to get inflammation out of my diet. I was trying to get kind of like all chemicals really out of my diet. And I wanted the best possible prognosis. I wanted the best, because at the point that I got diagnosed with stage 1A womb cancer, I had no idea, was this going to be the end of me? How bad was it? You know, they said they thought it was minimal, but, you know, how bad was it? I had no idea. And so I was just like, you know what, I'm going to be extreme. I'm going to be drastic. To start with, I did like eat some chicken, and there were some doctors like Dr. Oz, and he was talking about how some sort of like chicken skin and stuff can be good for, and there were all sorts of like foods that were like combating. And to be honest, recently I've kind of forgotten about those foods, and need to kind of remember them. There were particular foods that are really good at fighting cancer, I guess, because they remove the inflammation from your body. And 2 of them are grapefruits and walnuts. I remember that. And, you know, so many of these foods have become so much part of my life and so much part of my routine that now I don't even think about them. I just know, okay, that's good for me. And so I buy them like all the time. Although I haven't had a grapefruit for a little while, but grapefruit's is really good. And you know what, I'm just going to carry on with this thing of pink, and then I'm going to try and like mix. Maybe I'll put a little bit of yellow in and see what happens. So I have my trusty assistant Molly, who is trying to eat the paint by the looks of it. Anybody think I didn't feed her? But I do. Actually, incidentally. So for all of you, you know, dog owner, so many people, oh, is your dog vegan? No, my dog is not vegan. I do not inflict veganism on my dog. I think that would be a bit mean. I think there are people out there that do. But yes, so like I said, for me it was I don't know, do I like that? That a bit better maybe. Quite nice at covering it. Yeah, it's quite nice, even though I'm not sure whether that is the right colour. But yeah, I'm just enjoying myself painting here. So I can't remember when it was, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to eat? Like, you know, I was kind of like scared to eat anything, because I was like, you know, I don't want to eat stuff that is going to like really hurt me, and is going to make it worse. And so I was like, okay, well, it came back to my mind that God had been speaking to me about Daniel fasts. So I was like, right, I'm going to become vegan. I'm gonna like, you know, just go all out as much as I possibly can, and that was, and also that was like clean eating. So I was clean eating essentially, and so for a whole year really I didn't really explore any of the different kind of vegan, like not options, but like the different, I guess, processed side of it that you can have, like even vegan cheese. I think I tried many times to make my own vegan cheese. You know, I spent a lot of time looking at recipe books, chill, of like, you know, the sort of things that I could make. And to start with, it was really tough because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. But as you go on, you just kind of like get into and like I said, this program is not about it's not about being Christian, this program, but for me, it like God, Holy Spirit, Jesus is like, he's involved in every part of my life, and definitely at this point in time when I got this horrible diagnosis. And of course, it's not the worst diagnosis because it was, you know, and they found it was stage 1A, and so they were able to deal with it. And I had surgery, and I will talk about that side of things on another program. But I was so anxious about what do I eat, and literally, the right information came like along, and I was able to like kind of eat the right things and kind of know like what to do, and it was really like you know, Holy Spirit, God led me into what to eat each day, and how to be a vegan and all the rest of it, and how to do it clean eating. It was really funny, like my husband, he'd always be like, oh yeah, can we have like this processed thing and that processed thing, and I'd be like, well, the reason we're vegan is to try and get rid of all the junk out of our lives and out of our bodies. And so but he would always like it. But like for a year, like during like COVID, I mean, I think there were a couple of times when I actually had COVID, and friends went out to get food for us, and all they got for us was like processed stuff, because it's the only thing that they knew. And also we were so ill that we didn't really want to be painting. We didn't really want to be cooking, and so we would like, you know. But I was like, this is once in like a blue moon sort of thing that we're eating this, so it's fine. So yeah, so that's the reason why I'm vegan. Lots of people ask me why I'm vegan, and for me it isn't about ethical reasons. For me it's about clean eating, and sorry Molly, stay here. For me it's about optimizing my health as much as possible. And like I said, I think I said this last week, Molly, stop. Stay there. I think I said this last week that, you know, I'm aware that there's lots of like still pesticides and stuff in vegetables and stuff like that. But, okay, I want you to stay here because I cannot go to the door, okay? Behave ourselves. If I had a toddler right now, the toddler would be able to be in bed at 8 o'clock. Or I'd probably be, I don't know, reading them a story or something. But with a dog, the dog doesn't go to sleep. They don't go to sleep. We will talk about dogs and chihuahuas and all that another time. I'm going to have to realise that I need to put some white on that. Where was I? Yeah, so it's more about clean eating. Hello? So let me just wave at all these people. And I'm sorry if you put a comment on Facebook, but I'm not able to reach it at the moment. Maybe my hubby is watching and he might be able to answer any questions that people might have. Okay, so I put a post on my Instagram this week about you know, what are the benefits of being vegan. So like I said, for me, big one is health, because let's face it, and like I said, there are possibly pesticides and stuff in our vegetables, and I don't always wash. I do wash my vegetables, but not to the point that they say that you should, because it's a lot of time. But I do obviously try and wash them, and maybe try and wash them more. But also, for a long time through COVID, when I lived in Lancashire, I would get a farmer's like box of vegetables, and not managed to do that in the new place that I'm living in, which is really funny because I actually live in the countryside almost, but I just haven't got around to, and I think finances maybe have not allowed us to be able to get kind of like that kind of vegetables. We actually had an organic shop. Oh no, you're not chewing the cushion. Oh, cheeky 2 hours, eh? No, behave yourself. You're live. Do you realise that? You're live. You need to behave yourself. And so, yeah, so until recently we had an organic shop at the bottom of the road, but that sadly went a few months ago, which I was mortified about. It might actually be more than a few months ago now. And since then I haven't managed to get another provider, another like vegetable provider. I don't know, I just not got around to it. I think all-consuming job and all of that. I'm trying to do this over here so Facebook can see as well, and you can see too. So there's a little bit of a gap. Okay, so that worked quite well. That colour, I think. Should be able to do this in one sitting, but I don't think it's going to be one sitting tonight, to be honest. Even though I'd like it to be, but I doubt it will be. Quite often I start them on here, and then hello, Stitch with Susie, nice to see you. And then quite often I don't manage to I finish them offline, but you know, just the way it is, and then you'll see it. You see it on my page later on, and they're probably going to do a series of fruit, because the theme and the topic of fruitfulness is huge, and you'll see more of it on my Instagram. You'll see more of it kind of like on my other social medias, which alludes to something else that we'll talk about another day. But back to veganism. So yeah, so it's about clean eating, and I just think that we don't know what they're putting in our food these days. We just don't know what they're pumping into the meat, and obviously it's similar to the vegetables, but I think that you can mitigate it to a certain degree, whereas when it's meat, you know, they're like genetically testing and all sorts of things, and obviously animals eat things, and so whatever the animal eats, you're eating. And I just got a sense that it is a much healthier way to live, to be eating plant-based and vegetables and stuff. And it really was kind of like that book in the Bible that really kind of like, you know, really pointed that out to me. So yeah, and like I said, I try and limit the amount of processed food that we eat, because I think that, you know, if we're going to eat plant-based, if we're going to eat like, you know, vegan mainly, then why are we putting more processed food in our bodies? It made me realise how lazy we have got with food, that, and I thank goodness that I do so to some extent know how to cook, and it's not like anybody ever taught me. I just have experimented and tried different things over the years, and quite like, because I am creative. Oh, I like that. That's a nice colour. But we keep changing the colour, and they kind of need to be the same. Because I am quite creative, that means that I'm quite creative in the kitchen, so I like experimenting and trying different recipes and all of that, and I just love cooking. But I know that there's many people out there who, you know, the microwave is their friend. I got rid of my microwave because I just thought, you know, as well, microwave is radiation, and I figured, well, to be honest, it kind of exploded, so sort of exploded. or something exploded in it, and it looked like something had died in it, and I just thought, no, I'm not even going to use it to warm up a hot water bottle. That's how bad it was. And so today I bought a air fryer, which I'm very excited about. Very excited about having an air fryer. I'm told they're a lot healthier than, like, obviously deep fat frying, but also and more cost effective than going to, like, putting stuff in the oven. So excited about that. But why am I telling you that? Because this is not about it being cheaper. I've lost my train of thought. But yes, they're just the whole clean eating. So that's it. So yes, so it may, and this is something else that I've talked about on my Instagram, is that it made me really creative when it comes to cooking. Like, I've had to be. One of the reasons I'll tell you is because what we tend to do, because meat has flavour, and meat, like, absorbs the flavours in whatever you're cooking, and to be honest with you, I've never really managed to kind of, like, be in a place cooking meat where it's marinated and it's taken in the flavours. I mean, don't get me wrong, I did, cook different meals with, like, chicken, and I do chicken fajita and all of that, and obviously not now. But I never got to the point where I was able to, like, the meat to marinate, to, like, absorb the flavours, or to produce its own flavours. I never really got to that point in my cooking, if I'm honest. But I know for many, the meat is like the main event, and it's like what when a child eats, and they have, I mean, I grew up where, your peas were there, your potatoes were there, and your chops were there. And, you always eat your vegetables first, and then the meat is the best bit, so you always eat the meat last. So I was really brought up like that. And even when you're cooking, like, meals, the meat is always, like, the most important part of the meal. So when you're vegan, you have to switch things up a lot. There is a couple of ways you can do it. You see, there are a few, like, meat substitutes out there. Well, there are obviously the processed ones. That is like corn. Corn, actually not vegan, it's veggie. But you can get different meat substitutes that are mainly made of soya, which is the ones I can eat, or they're made of something called seitan, which I find very amusing that that's what it's called, but that's what it's called. Spelled very differently. I think it's Setain, something like that. Unfortunately, seitan is made of gluten, or the main ingredient that it has in it is gluten. So I'm not even able to eat it, because it would make me quite poorly, because as well as being vegan, I'm gluten free, and actually in my life, and quite recently, my diet has been even more limited than that. So which has been difficult, to say the least, because I've had, like, digestive issues and all of this, and praise God, that's starting to, I mean, that's much better these days. But yes, where was I? So I couldn't have that. Hello, yeah, nice to see you too. Thank you for coming on. So I couldn't have that. I'm not able to have that. So the substitutes that are, so there are other substitutes, like I said, they're made of soya or pea protein, but obviously they're processed. But you've got your burgers and your sausages, like Linda McCartney do some really amazing, like, vegan sausages with, like, a rosemary and herb. And so these days I have that. But thank you. But then when a few years ago, when I just got diagnosed and I wanted to make sure that I was totally clean eating, I would make my own quinoa sausages quite a lot. And I think during, this happened for me during the lockdown. So even though I was working, you know, was no travelling to work, there was no commute. Work was like, there was work, but it wasn't as much as usual, and so I could just spend loads of time like cooking. And so basically I spent loads of time cooking, and I'd make things like quinoa sausages, and you know, I'd get, and it got to the kind of stage where when I did go back to work and I was working kind of like in the office again, you know, it was second nature for me to, you know, make these kind of meals. So like make quinoa sausages, for example, or lentil sausages, or all of that. And to be honest, I've not made them for a long time, but I just kind of, some of it I worked out myself, and some of it I worked out on recipes. So going back to the fact that, you know, when you're cooking a meal, the meat tends to be the main part. You've got to change it, like I said, and have like either a fake processed thing as your main meal, which would be something like corn, but it wouldn't be corn, and it would probably be seitan. Or number two, you would have something like tofu or jackfruit. And there might be another one as well, but the two that I use are tempura, which is basically tofu. The two that I use are tofu and jackfruit. Jackfruit is great because it's kind of like stringy, and it tastes, well, I don't know if it tastes, you can marinate it basically. So both tofu and jackfruit, you can marinate, so it can absorb the flavours. So whether you're making curry, or whether you're making or whether you're making fajitas, or I'm trying to think something else you might make. Whatever you're making, you can marinate tofu, tempura, or jackfruit, and the texture is a lot like tuna or chicken. So you can kind of like substitute it, but it's quite, jackfruit can be quite expensive. Like a jar of jackfruit is quite expensive. But tofu is a lot more economical. And you want to get organic tofu as well, because that's less likely to have been processed so much. And tofu is made from soya beans. So soya can become quite a main thing in your diet, and there's been a lot of debate about soya, whether it's good for you or bad for you. But actually, and I think if you have organic soya, because soya's got estrogen in, and if you have too much of that, I think there's some sort of like research about cancer, particularly breast cancer. So you just got to watch how much you have. And if I'm thinking about it, I've had probably a bit too much soya recently, because a lot of things are soya, but actually a lot of things now are pea protein as well, which is amazing that they can make kind of like they can make amazing things from pea protein, from peas. And obviously the other things that you eat a lot of are beans, lentils, pulses, nuts. So actually the other one that can replace your meat is nuts. So like, you will have heard of nut roast. I love a good nut roast. Oh, absolutely love nut roast. They take a lot of time to make, though. That's the only thing. But yeah, nut roasts are great. So yeah, but with all of these things, and then the final way is using a vegetable. So one of your vegetables so you take a vegetable as a central part of that meal. So it might be cauliflower, it might be squash, it might be broccoli. I'm trying to think of another one. There are some vegetables that really lend themselves to being the main event in a meal. The ones I can think of are squash, broccoli, cauliflower is a big one. And basically then, mushroom. I was reading an article recently Maybe we'll have to talk about that somewhere else. I kind of do. Someone's asking me if I can paint their picture. Yes, but I'm a business, so I do charge for such services. Anyway, back to the program of veganism. So portobello mushrooms, I can act a bit like a steak, so you can kind of like put them on like a George Formby grill and kind of like press them down and squeeze all the water out, and they can act like a bit like steak. So I was reading this article, and you know, it's amazing the way that you can literally turn vegetables into kind of like a meat type what's the word, texture, which I find like absolutely, you know, amazing that you can do that. The thing that you learn when you're being vegan is that vegetables are so unbelievably versatile. Like, they are so versatile. So let me tell you about cauliflower. So a lot of us, cauliflower really does stink when you're cooking it, particularly when you're boiling it. It really does stink. But no, babe, no, honey, no, you're going to stay here, okay, till after the show, and then I'll let you out. But I really don't want you to be barking at the wall. Yeah, so when you're cooking cauliflower, as in boiling it, it can really stink. But cauliflower is so versatile. And I'm still learning ways of how to use cauliflower. So obviously you can boil cauliflower, and obviously that's, you know, and I think it's really sad that for a lot of meat eaters, and for me for most of my life, you know, I thought that vegetables were the thing that you put on the side of the meal, but they don't have to be. They can be the main event. So with cauliflower, you can do all sorts of things. It can become your, like, rice. It can be a mash. It can be like a steak. It can be like those bang bang cauliflowers, where like kind of almost like a barbecue cauliflower, almost like a barbecue wing, but obviously a cauliflower. And like I said, and then in curry as well. So I make this quite often. I make cauliflower and tofu curry. So I roast my cauliflower. I'm very excited to be able to roast it in the hello, new person. I'm sorry if I do know you all and I just can't see who you are because it's so tiny. I'm so excited to use my air fryer to be able to roast cauliflower. Yeah, very excited about that. And it's going to hopefully save me money as well. But yes, so I once was working and this guy was making cauliflower and a halloumi curry. And I think at that point, I don't think I was vegan. No, I don't think I was vegan. And I was like, right, this weekend I am going to make that curry. Like, if I hear people say a food, hello there. If I hear people say, we're talking about veganism today, so I hope you'll enjoy the chatter about veganism whilst I paint fruit. And we'll talk about fruit another day. Oh gosh, what was I saying about cauliflower? Yes, okay, curry, yes. So I was actually doing a first aid course, and the teacher of the first aid course said, I don't know what we asked. We were like, oh yeah, what are you having for dinner tonight? And he went, oh, I'm having halloumi and cauliflower curry. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And so what I often do is when I go to restaurants, I hear people suggest meals. I think, how can I recreate it? And actually, I always judge a restaurant on how good it is on whether I can recreate that meal. If I can recreate that meal, then it means that it wasn't that creative and it wasn't that amazing. But I always try to do that. So quite often when we go out for a meal, I'll be like, Reggie, I'm going to really try and I'm going to make this at home. I'm going to see if I can make this at home. Which he loves, because it means that, you know, we try all sorts of different things. And I have to say, I mean, okay, he's away at the moment. He's probably enjoying lots of meat. He's actually staying with Brazilians and Colombians this week in Portugal. So he's probably going to really enjoy meat. I know he's been eating meat whilst he's been with his mum and all of that. But saying that, and I don't believe he tell me, like if something doesn't taste very nice, he tells me. But he loves my cooking. He loves my vegan cooking. Yes, he misses the meat. But he loves my cooking. He loves what I cook. Where was I? So when I became vegan, I was like, well, and actually to start with, when I was kind of like buying kind of like food from like processed stuff and things, because it took me ages to try out kind of vegan cheese. It wasn't until a couple of years later that I was like, okay, let's try this vegan cheese. Anyway, I was like, well, why don't I use tofu? So what I do now is, if there was a meal that had meat in, I will think, what can I substitute for it? So can I substitute tofu, jackfruit, a bean, because actually beans, when they're kind of like mashed and stuff, and kind of cooked into with maybe like flour, for me obviously a gluten-free flour, it can turn into kind of like a meat kind of consistency. So anyway, so I use tofu, and we have it all the time now. Cauliflower and tofu curry is one of our staples, and he loves it and I love it, and so we eat that a lot. And then crazily, like, even though I've been vegan for like, gosh, it's been for like 4 years now, somebody said, why don't you try cauliflower as a steak? Have you ever had cauliflower steaks? And I was like, no, I haven't. I must try that. And it's dead easy. All you do is literally slice up your cauliflower. Have to say, sometimes when you slice up your cauliflower, it can end up in bits, but if you slice it in the right place and you keep the stalks on and stuff, then it can be like you're cutting like meat, and then you just put it in the oven, or maybe I'll be putting it in my air fryer, and you've got like a steak, like a cauliflower steak. So you can have a rice bed, you can have a lentil bed, quinoa, whatever you want on that bed, and then you can have a vegetable as like a side thing to it. Another meal, and obviously it depends whether you're like it's in the summer or the winter. Cauliflower mash is amazing, and it's really easy to make. Literally, you just it's like you're making mash, but you're making rather than potatoes, you're making out of cauliflower. And so you boil your cauliflower, but a bit of like vegan spread, vegan butter type thing, or can use a bit of vegan cream cheese and a bit of milk, like almond milk. I like to use almond, or almond, soya and coconut are the ones that I kind of use, but you can also use hemp. You can use pea protein milk. So it's learning to be creative. It's learning to be creative, and it's learning to be able to substitute things, mix things up. So no, you're not going anywhere. No, we're not going to the door. Okay, we're not going to go and woof at the wall. Not yet. We're nearly over, and I've talked the whole time about food. Not just about veganism today, but all about the different meals that I make. But I'm hoping that, this might encourage you to, rather than, because for me, and I do feel like, and maybe people take offense at this, I hope not, but is that meat is like a default, and it's like, it's not, it's not too hard to cook meat. Obviously, you want to make sure it's cooked, you want to make sure that it's like hot enough, but we don't have to be too creative. You can literally have your veg there, your meat there, and your potatoes there, or your rice or whatever, and you don't have to be too creative. But with being vegan, it's like amazing. You can try all sorts of different things, and it's like also you can recreate things. So like I said, you can recreate a type of meat thing that's not meat. So like burgers, for example. So I used to do, and I will do again, like beetroot and oat burgers. And you know what? Lentil burgers as well. And actually, quite often they would taste a bit like meat. I haven't really missed meat at all. Once or twice, but really not really at all. I just really love the creativity that you can, hello there, you can really like administer when you're vegan. And that creativity, the same kind of creativity that you show when you're an artist is a similar sort of creativity that you can employ when you're vegan. It's actually quite fun, and cooking is quite fun. I have to say, recently I've probably got into the to kind of cooking the same things, and I need to kind of like look at some recipes and mix some things up. But I recently got given a food processor, so I'm very excited to be like to use that and to see what I can do, because I'm also, I do eat a bit of sugar, but because of the diagnosis that I talked about at the beginning of this program, I am mainly sugar-free as well. And so another day I will talk to you about being sugar-free and clean eating, and the journey that I've been on with that as well. And again, it's about creativity, and this show is all about creativity. And the other thing, you do need to make sure that you eat enough protein. And when you're vegan, you have to think about what you're eating. It's not just like, I'm going to be absolutely sure that I'm going to get my iron because I'm eating meat or I'm eating red meat. You have to think, okay, where's my protein coming from? Where's my iron coming from? Where, obviously, your vitamin C and your vitamins, as it were, you're obviously getting in your vegetables, but the iron and stuff like that, you have to be really, what's the word, proactive, and work out where are my where are they going to come from, and actually for a long time I didn't actually take supplements, and I didn't even take an iron supplement. But in recent months, I've started to take an iron supplement, just because sometimes my iron levels would get a bit low. But I would rather that than be not knowing what I'm eating and like eating something that's been fed something sort of thing, whereas vegetables generally are better for you. But like I said, I'm going to try and get some like a farm or something, so that I can be sure that they're organic. Problem with organic vegetables is they are so expensive. They are crazily expensive. And there's something called odd vegetables or something that I would like to stay there. That I would like to Molly, stay. That I would like to have, but at the end of the day, they're not actually organic, which I was really like upset about, because I really wanted to get them, because I thought, oh, this is really good. Not massively cheap, but they're not organic, so there's no point. So yeah, so I want to encourage you, if you've never thought about being vegan, I'd say for quite a while before I became vegan, I was starting to eat more veggie, I was starting to eat more kind of vegetable dishes, and try and cut out meat in my diet, not completely to start with, because I'd heard that it wasn't good for the environment, and we're going to talk a lot more about that next week, about the environmental factors of being vegan, as in how it is helping the earth. how it is helping even humanity to be vegan, because not as many carbon emissions, and many reasons. And I'm hoping to have a friend on here, hoping to interview a friend who has written a thesis about it, and has an amazing take on some of the things that I would never even have thought of, because like I've said before, I'm vegan for health reasons and not for ethical reasons. But at the same time, I'm really glad that I'm helping, I believe I'm helping the planet by not eating meat, and I barely eat any dairy, and that's the other thing about. So a lot of people say they don't like vegan cheese, because it took me a long time, and I tried to make my own. I used to make my own like vegan cream, and it was almost, but not quite, cheese. And so that is a journey that I've now got a food processor. I might be able to try and make my own vegan cheese again. But there's a lot of a lot of the supermarkets, even the budget supermarkets, they all do vegan cheese. So and you know what, when I wasn't vegan, I never used to eat mac and cheese, but I found that being vegan, I eat it. I get vegan cheese, or and we what's it called, nutritional yeast. We eat a lot of nutritional yeast, a lot of almonds. The issue, if you can't eat nuts, then it could be very difficult to be a vegan. So would hope that you could eat nuts, because if not, it could prove quite difficult. Because I do eat a lot of nuts, and I like nuts. And like I said, you can make different things from nuts. Like you can make pesto from nuts. And the other thing with cauliflower I didn't mention, so we only talked about cauliflower. The only thing with cauliflower is that you can make hummus. Even though I'm vegan, and chickpeas is a very massive staple of vegans, chickpeas. I can't eat chickpeas. They just almost bang around in my stomach and make it really painful. So not being able to eat chickpeas is makes it really difficult for being vegan. However, and I love hummus. However, you can literally make hummus out of so many different things. You can make hummus out of kale. You can make hummus out of cauliflower. You can make hummus out of black beans, butter beans, white beans, whatever. Basically, it's tahini, your beans, and maybe a bit of olive oil, and yeah. So squash. I only really discovered squash when I went vegan. Another thing I've used a lot when cooking vegan to kind of get your flavours is fruit. So mixing some kind of fruit with your vegetables. So for example, I make a kale, squash and prune stew. I didn't come up with the idea. I'm the kind of person where I see a recipe and then after that I pretty much can wing it. I can just kind of make it. So prunes, salad. Salad has been I always used to think salad was boring and dull, but when I became vegan, salad was something that came to life with me. So I was brought up to think that salad was like tomatoes, cucumber and lettuce. And since I've become vegan, I'm no, actually salad could be all sorts of things. And so quite often I'd make in fact I can't remember, but somebody made me rainbow salad, so I had that for ages, and that had feta cheese in. But you can get vegan feta cheese, because I like dairy. That's the thing. Even though Molly, stay here, even though I didn't eat meat and I can do without meat, I think dairy is even more tastier really than meat. So I but I found a substitute. You know, I found vegan dairy, and really would love to get to the place where I can make my own, and milk as well, so I can make my own milk. I'm planning to make my own milk soon, even out of gluten-free oats, almonds, cashew, you know, and I do believe it's a lot cheaper to be vegan than to buy meat. Because meat is really expensive. Like, it just is very expensive. My bill, when I've had bought meat because of having guests or something, my bill has just been so expensive. And yet, as a you know, with a vegan, I mean, my bill today was like 35. Maybe because hubby's away and I'm not eating as much as usual. But yeah, so as we come to the end of this campaign with me, that I've been able to talk about food the whole time, and I'm going to write a blog about it. There'll be other postings about it as well. Check out the Northern Vegan Artist blog that I've got. Obviously, check out my YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel. We are almost there. We're almost there. We are at 30 subscribers, and hopefully very soon we'll be at 50, and so I'll just be able to go straight onto YouTube. And yeah, please comment on this video. I'll try and kind of like put some videos on, like maybe like portions of this or like information from this, and more art coming soon. As you can see behind me, there's a lot of art going on here, and I haven't released any of this yet. Still working on this one. The one behind me that you can see with the butterflies will be released very soon. And then we've got one behind here that's a lake, which is almost finished. So yeah, this might be finished next week, or it might not be. We might do another one. But I hope you've enjoyed this chatter, talking broccoli again, about veganism. I just think it's a really great lifestyle. I love the creativity of cooking with being vegan, and what I've learned from it. There's an amazing lady called Barbara O'Neill. I really recommend that you watch her videos. They are amazing. She's obviously vegan, and she's seen people get cured of crazy diseases through being vegan, and also by cutting out carbs. But we'll talk about that another day. We'll talk about keto another day. But for now, I think let's just see where we're at. Let me a sec. Yeah, we're almost done on here. This was Angela. So Reggie has been writing little messages to me because he's on the bus to Portugal. In fact, he might even be there. Don't know if he's there yet, but he might be already there. So you can see like some of the shapes are taking shape, and if I was on here longer, then you'd see some more of it take shape. Glad I got my my pink, but yeah. This was Angela, the Northern Vegan Artist. It's been great just chatting broccoli with you, literally, although we didn't mention broccoli today. I was going to talk about mac and cheese, wasn't I? Yes, let me tell you about, yes, so I love mac and cheese. Mac and cheese is one of our staples. And there's some, you know what, there are so many other kind of like things I could talk to you about different creative things about being vegan. Maybe some of them are like on the keto side, so maybe when we talk about keto, we'll talk about them as well. But vegetables, you know how kids like avoid eating vegetables? Vegetables are amazing. They're an incredible invention. And you know something else? A lot of vegetables are sweet because they're carbs and they're sugar essentially. But also other vegetables that are not sweet, you know, they're still amazingly versatile, and you can add things to them. And yeah, it is fun being a vegan. It really is. So I want to encourage you to have a go at it. You know, you'll not just be making yourself more healthy, I believe. but you'll be saving the planet as well. And maybe, you know, as you'll hear from my friend next week or the week after, you'll be saving people as well. Hardship and heartache. Yeah, I believe there's a program out there called Game Changers. I've not actually watched it, but I believe it's a really good program about veganism, and it's turned many people to be vegan. Thankfully, I didn't need to watch it to do that. This is Angela Van Dinter signing out, the Northern Vegan Artist, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Good night, God bless. Bye bye, Facebook.